Hello, Fiona, and congratulations on being awarded the 2021 KBH Facilitator Award for the CPA Western School of Business, CPAWSB.
Thank you. I'm very honored.
All right, so we have a few questions for you. We really want to get to know you and a bit about your journey. So what advice would you have for junior or aspiring accounting educators?
I would say have fun with it. So that's something I go by every time I facilitate or teach any course. I also try to think from the learner's perspective. And one of the misconceptions, which I was also guilty of, was that accounting is boring and it's all about number crunching. But after many years of working in the industry, we know that's not the case. So I always like to share my personal experiences with the learners. And this is actually a great way for them to visualize how it is like to be working in this profession. And I think it would help them understand many of the abstract accounting or tax concepts by relating them to some real life experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, have fun with it, because when you have fun, that goes through to the learners and they start connecting with the materials. Speaking with you at different educator conferences, either having mentored or having colleagues mentor you in your work and seeing the learners connect with you, it is a pretty cool thing what we get to do in an in-person or online environment. Virtual doesn't need to be a limitation. In fact, it can be a way to really kind of leverage some of that asynchronous time and connect you with the learners. Before you became a CPA, could you please tell me a bit about your journey to attain your CPA, and what has your post-designation professional journey looked like since?
Okay. So before I became a CPA, that was about 3 years of studying. So I think I can use the phrase work hard and play hard to summarize that 3 years. Actually, no, it's beyond that too. Work hard, play hard. It was definitely a crazy 3 year because not only you have the weekly assignments, you have to study, you have exams, but I was working in public practice at that time. And there was also this busy season that never seems to stop being busy. But then at the same time, I also had a lot of fun because my coworkers and I always worked as a team. They also helped me out a lot with my studies as well. And for sure, we party hard at those end of busy season parties. So it was, even though I was busy all the time, it was very rewarding, and it was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Then post destination, I decided to focus on tax, which is something that I developed a passion for during my study days. So I worked in public practice for about 3-4 years before transitioning to industry, which is where I am now. And so for the last 3 years, I've been working in the global tax team of an international public company. And I would say currently right now, my journey mostly consists of constant learning still. The learning never stops, which is something that I really enjoy about this profession actually.
Learning can be rewarding, especially when it is built upon the foundation of your CPA, right? It's lifelong learning. We have continuing professional development for a reason. It's not the CP and done, but it can also be fun as you are improving in your own career.
Yeah, it's I think it's very challenging to be faced with something new quite often, but at the same time, what I've learned throughout my journey actually is support is very important. And I think that's also why I like working for the school, because you get a lot of support from, well, we're trying to support the learners, but at the same time we get a lot of support from all the different facilitators and mentors. So yeah,
it is a pretty cool community where we can be both learning and growing as professionals while contributing to the learning and growing of our professional community.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Agree.
So then how did you come to work with CPAWSB?
Even when I was a candidate, going through my CPA at that time, I've always wanted to be a facilitator with the school, because as a candidate, I was very lucky to have some amazing facilitators who were always very supportive, very helpful, knowledgeable, which made me feel that I also wanted to give back to the new candidates once I get my CPA. So as soon as I got my designation, I applied to the school, and shortly after that, I was accepted. I went for the training and then got assigned my very first module, which was Core 1.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So what's interesting about your story and your journey is sometimes I'll see a candidate or I'll mention it in an email and I'll say, hey, like you have a really great perspective, or you've been providing some great tips to other candidates on the discussion board. Have you considered being a facilitator? And more often than not, they'll say, no, when I'm done, I'm done. I don't want to do this. And then what's funny is I'll see them a couple of years later at training and I'm like,
Ah.
So, so I feel like people that are listening to this that are maybe like, not me, Fiona, like, be careful because it's a pretty cool thing. We have an awesome community. I get to hang out with people like Fiona and myself. And you also get, like Fiona said, all the support. And so you're able to give back and put your own twist on things and say, hey, I struggled with this, but here's how you don't have to struggle the same way I did. And here's a way to give back. So how did you find your first session with Core 1?
It was a little bit scary, to be honest, because even though we went through the training, but we are faced with the different assignments every week. But at the same time, I was very, very excited because I finally get to meet these candidates. I remember my very first module, it was just 6 candidates. So it was quite manageable. And yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to communicate with them, try to understand them. At the same time, also trying to understand the policy of the school, because as an educator, we have to make sure that we're giving them the right information, guiding them the right way. So it was a learning curve for me for sure. But then after the first one, you feel a lot more comfortable because you become way more familiar with the whole program. So yeah.
What is a rewarding experience that you've had as a CPAWSB educator?
I think it would be when the candidates take in my suggestions and when I can see them improve week over week. So as a CPA facilitator, I like to think that my role is actually not to teach them new material, but to help them navigate through the different resources on the technical side, and also how to write as a professional. So often I would send them email, or in my feedback to them, I would provide some suggestions. And when I see that they're actually adopting my recommendation and incorporating it into their responses, I think it's really rewarding to see. Another thing that I particularly enjoy is when my discussion with candidates that stems from, actually this happened last module as well. I had some really good discussion with a candidate. He would have questions that comes from assignments, but then we would discuss it beyond the topic of the assignment. And I really like that because, well, first of all, I'm a tech nerd, and it makes me feel that the learners are really interested to know more. And I mean, that's why I love facilitating and interacting with them.
Our learners are so fascinating, as are our educators, with so many different backgrounds, so many different goals and career trajectories. It really is fascinating to get to know our learners a little bit. When you were discussing your facilitation style, or really what we do as educators, what we aim, you mentioned understanding where the learner is in their journey and then tailoring your feedback to help kind of coach them to their next level. That sounds really difficult to do. How do you ensure that you are kind of tailoring your approach in order to coach them to the next level when it could look different from candidate to candidate to candidate?
I think part of it comes from experience as well. I mean, I have been a learner once, so I fully understand the struggle. And also, I do try to poke them and get them to talk to me as much as I can. Sometimes they're not, because they're busy. They just want to get the assignments done. But then, really paying attention to whatever they submit or they emails to you. Sometimes they would tell you what they're struggling. And also, one thing I learned is never make assumptions. So for example, if a candidate couldn't submit an assignment for say a week, you cannot make an assumption because you never know what's going on in their life. So I think I'm slowly trying to make sure I don't make any assumption and just ask an open-ended question. How are you? Is everything okay? And then usually when they feel that you care, they're more responsive. And and that's also why I like my facilitating with the school too, is because I love the interacting part. It's almost like I'm making new friends every module. So I think that's a lot of fun.
So when you're not teaching for the school or working for an international company in the tax department, what would we find you doing?
Not tax stuff. Well, other than my personal tax return.
Not tax stuff.
Or maybe my parents' tax return. But I like to do a lot of different things. I have a lot of different interests. I think lately I have started biking again because the weather is getting a little bit better. So in the summertime, I love taking my bike and going around Stanley Park, UBC, or the seawall here in Vancouver. In the wintertime, I also love snowboarding. I'm still very new to it, so I'm not very good, but I find it a lot of fun. And then when I'm not out and about at home, I'm also taking some language courses online. So other than the classes, sometimes I would be reading easy Japanese news or listening to Spanish podcasts.
So you really are a hashtag lifelong learner.
Yes, I think I'm just a very curious person. To be honest, with COVID, it made these things possible too, because there's nowhere you could go. You might as well go online and do something online. That's fun.
Absolutely. And what I love with that response is really highlighting looking for opportunities for growth and for exploration. And when there might be constraints, for learners, there might be a constraint that, every Friday you have an assignment due. Well, that means that every Saturday morning you don't. So, hey, we might be constrained to our houses, our condos for several months at a time. But hey, that's a great opportunity to pick up a second language or, explore, more of, having a really clean house or whatnot for a period of time. I know that everything around me got a lot cleaner than it perhaps is right now.
Same here. Or like do some cooking. Except I prefer to cook for other people so that I'm not constantly eating.
That's very fair. And one other thing that we can point out is that you have been contributing to the school for several years and continue to do so throughout the pandemic. And in fact, continue to contribute in such a way that you were recognized with this award. And I know I said this kind of offline before, but it's about time. And so I'm so honored and grateful that you joined us here today to talk a bit about your story so we could get to know you a bit better, because I have no doubt that you are inspiring both current learners who maybe are like, maybe I can see myself as an educator, as well as myself and our colleagues to get to know Fiona Lee and the excellence that you bring to our community. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.